You can gain pounds of muscle while losing pounds of fat. He must have gained 15 pounds of muscle, and that means he actually lost 45 pounds of fat. How attractive you are, visually, health-wise, feeling-wise, night and day.
What about the role of resistance training during a fat loss protocol?
Resistance training doesn't really help you lose weight. It does in the sense that it burns calories, but it doesn't burn a crazy amount of calories. It's a good amount, but nothing too insane. Resistance training builds and preserves your muscle tissue. So if I have someone lose 15 pounds over the course of 12 weeks, reasonable for a larger sized person, they don't resistance train at all. Many of the Ozempic studies showed something like this. They'll lose half of that will be muscle, maybe 5 pounds will be muscle, 10 pounds will be fat if you're lucky. You're healthier, you look better, your blood work is better, you feel better. It's not amazing. If you resistance train, and you've been resistance training consistently already, almost all of that weight loss will be fat. Maybe like 13 pounds of it. And only 2 pounds of lost muscle. And because you keep resistance training after, you regain that 2 pounds back like 3 weeks later. And then so measured at 3 weeks after you finish that 12-week diet, you lost, 13-ish pounds of fat and no muscle. Visually, health-wise, feeling-wise, night and day. Here's a real kicker. If it's your first time losing fat and you don't train with weights, starting to train with weights while you start to kind of clean up your diet and lose a little fat, you can gain pounds of muscle while losing pounds of fat.
I thought it was impossible to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time.
Yeah. A lot of people misinterpret more difficult than average to mean impossible. So a really good example of this recently in the media was UFC president Dana White. Dana White had an unreal transformation. His health markers are through the roof. And I think he lost something like a total of maybe 35 pounds on the scale. But because he started taking weight training very seriously during that time, he must have gained anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds of muscle. I mean, 15 is a bit extreme, but I'm willing to go 5 to 10 for sure, just guessing. And that means he actually lost maybe 45 pounds of fat while gaining muscle. He could have gone from that with no resistance training to Dana White lost weight. And that's nice to hear. But he went from that to what the Dana is Superman. When the hell is he getting in the octagon? You feel me? That's a big deal. It's a big deal at deep health markers. It's a big deal at how you feel. Some people feel weaker after a diet because they lost a bunch of muscle. You gain muscle or maintain it through a diet, you feel stronger after a diet. And the look, and since I'm on the Modern Wisdom podcast, I can say this and it's fit for purpose. How attractive you are to yourself, everybody else, matters. And if you lose exclusively or mostly fat, even gain some muscle during that time, you transform your attractiveness, in most cases, up a bunch of notches.
It's a positive feedback cycle for yourself as well, as opposed to going from, God, I was overweight to, I'm not overweight anymore, but I'm not perhaps.
I look sick.
Yeah, emaciated.
And look, most people prefer bodies that are smaller and slimmer. That's just a statistical fact. But even more people prefer fit bodies for themselves and definitely for other people. So if you resistance train when you're losing weight, and yes, this is a message to almost all modern women that are in their 40s and 50s, get in the weight room, lift weights hard, get a good personal trainer. And while you clean up your diet, while you lose fat, what you can do is see a completely transformative effect. And no, you will not turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger by accident overnight. I mean, I used to be biologically female and 120 pounds body weight yesterday. And it took 1 day for me to do this.
Dude, that's my favorite psyop is the one that women give to themselves, which is if I lift weights, I will become too jacked. Meanwhile, those of us that have desperately been lifting weights for approaching 2 decades now, in the hopes that one day I might look remotely like I do.
Someone will be able to tell I work out at the store.
I'm like, the chance that you're going to wake up one day and become Arnie, given how hard me and all of my friends have worked at doing that and still not achieved it, is 0. You don't need to worry.
It's real close to zero. It's one of these things where they're doing it at like 2 orders of magnitude less serum testosterone as well. All women are hypogonadal. If you're a female and you show up, the doc, and you're like, hey, my testicles don't produce testosterone. He's going to do blood work. He's like, oh my God, you're right. You have almost no testosterone. You're not the candidate for rabid muscle growth. What's going to happen is you're going to diet down and you're going to look less like you're sick at the end and more like you look healthy and vital and like a little young bebopper. Like, you know, when younger women almost don't walk, they kind of just bounce around, that like they have, you can have that. It's called muscle mass. It changes the shape of your body.
Are there any specifics when it comes to training during a fat loss phase, resistance-wise? Are there any adjustments when you're in a deficit?
For most people, no. If you are at the very end of an insane fat loss phase, if you're a competition bodybuilder, you might want to try to reduce the amount of load you're lifting by a little and increase the repetitions, just because it's the same hypertrophic drive on average, but you're marginally reducing the risk of injury by a tiny little bit. It's also, through some biochemical mechanisms, easier to maintain your muscular endurance and improve it as you're dieting down than it is to maintain or increase your strength. And so that is like a very exotic concern for almost everyone. Is just kind of the same resistance training as we talked about in our earlier video all the time.
Should people be trying to increase the weight and the reps that they're doing as they go through fat loss? Should they have it in the back of their mind? I might get a bit tired. You know, I'm 4 weeks in, I'm 8 weeks in, I'm 12 weeks in. What about dealing with the mental pain of maybe not being the progress of strength, not going in quite the direction that you want?
Great question. You should anticipate that the rate of progression is going to decline. Maybe you've been really gunning it for a while and adding 5 pounds to the bar and everything every week. And when you're not adding weight, you might be able to add 2 reps to the exercise. Especially at the tail end of a fat loss phase, try to aim for adding 2.5 pounds to the bar every week and maybe adding a rep every week. Or if you're pretty advanced and things really slow down, every other week go up by 2.5 pounds or a rep, and every other week just maintain. And so instead of trying to gain at a fast rate, you're trying to either gain at a very slow rate, and in the end, you win some, you lose some, and you end up maintaining. But you still got to try to push it. What you don't want to do is start trying less hard to really take it to the teeth when you're in a fat loss phase, because the total catabolic muscle destroying, muscle burning stimulus is high as now. You got to fight against it by keeping your training volume up, of course, within the ability to recover, which is going to decline. You still have to test your limits a little bit, because if you train easy and you diet really hard for fat loss, you might lose some muscle still. If you train as hard as you're capable of, you might lose no muscle and maybe gain a little. If you train or try to train as hard as you were when you were massing, you'll just overreach and have to deload every 3rd week, and that might not be a fun experience.